Nora Hemsworth had been afraid of the ocean for as long as she could remember. Not the idea of it, not photographs of it, or the sound of it through an open window on a summer night. The actual ocean, the dark, depthless, indifferent thing that kept going long after the human mind stopped being comfortable with the distance. She had spent most of her adult life finding polite reasons not to go out on it. She was 43 years old. She had decided that polite reasons were no longer good enough. So, on the morning of November 2nd, she packed her camera bag, called her 2 closest friends, and rented a 20-foot boat out of Whittier, Alaska, a small harbor town at the edge of Prince William Sound, where the mountains drop straight into the water and glaciers are close enough to hear on quiet mornings. The Sound is one of the richest marine wildlife corridors in the world. Harbor seals gather here in their thousands, and where seals gather in thousands, their predators are never far behind. The sky was old pewter when they left the dock. The water was blue and still, hemmed in by snow-dusted peaks. Beautiful the way genuinely wild places are beautiful. Not arranged for anyone, not softened for anyone. Nora sat at the stern with her camera and told herself this was fine, that the water was just water. Then her phone buzzed. A pod of orcas had been spotted moving through the Sound. She raised her camera and stopped thinking about being afraid. They found the pod within 20 minutes. 8 killer whales moving through the water 300 yards off the port side. Through her zoom, Nora could see immediately that this was not a peaceful transit. Tail lobes crashed against the surface, bodies porpoised in explosive bursts, accelerating in unison towards something she couldn't yet see. She adjusted the zoom, scanned the churning white water between the massive black and white bodies. A small, dark shape, airborne for one terrible second above the frothing surface before disappearing back into the chaos below. A harbor seal, alive, barely, and running out of time. These were Big's orcas, transient killer whales documented hunting in Prince William Sound for decades. Unlike other orca populations that feed on fish, Bigs eat almost nothing but marine mammals, seals, sea lions, porpoises. They hunt in coordinated packs with an intelligence that marine biologists still study with something close to unease. The Sound's dense seal population makes it exactly the kind of ground they return to again and again. For 30 agonizing minutes, the pod worked the seal, batted it upward, drove it down, let it surface, drove it down again. Nora kept shooting. She told herself this was nature. She had always understood nature. Then the seal changed direction. She watched it stop fleeing and lock onto something with sudden, desperate focus. She pulled back on the zoom and followed its eye line. It was looking at their boat. "Turn the engine off," she said. "Wildlife regulations in Alaskan waters are clear. You do not interfere with a hunt. You cut your engine and wait." The motor died. The boat rocked in sudden silence. Around them, the Sound stretched away in every direction, vast, freezing, and completely empty of anyone who might help. The seal came straight at them. It hit the swimming platform at the stern with a force that lurched the entire vessel sideways, spraying ice-cold water across the deck. It hauled itself out of the Sound and pressed against the hull, sides heaving, dark eyes locked on the water it had just escaped. Adult harbor seals in Alaskan waters weigh up to 300 pounds, packed with muscle and blubber for survival in near-freezing temperatures. A frightened animal that size in a confined space is genuinely dangerous. Nora knew this. She assessed it in 2 seconds and stopped, because the seal wasn't looking at her. It was shaking, full body trembling visible from 6 feet away, eyes fixed on the black water below, with an expression she recognized immediately: pure terror. She pulled out her phone and started filming. Her voice on the recording was barely a whisper. She told the seal it was okay. She told it to stay. She talked to a wild animal in the soft, steady tone of someone who understood exactly what it felt like to be frightened of the water and out on it anyway. The orcas arrived 30 seconds later. The pod regrouped 50 feet away and lined up with a precision that would have been beautiful in any other context. Then they moved, one after another, each massive body driving forward and diving in sequence, pushing enormous rolling walls of water directly at the hull. Wave washing. Scientists have documented this technique since the 1980s. Orcas use it to knock seals off ice floes in Antarctica and off boat platforms in Alaskan waters. Calculated, intelligent, devastating. The first wave hit, and the boat lurched violently. Nora grabbed the railing. The platform tilted. She looked back. The seal was sliding. It lost its grip and went over the edge, and Nora's stomach went with it. She was certain it was over. The seal came back up. It found the platform, dragged itself back aboard with something that had long since stopped being energy and became pure refusal, pressed itself against the hull. Did not make a sound. Nora exhaled so hard it hurt. The orcas circled. Dorsal fins, some standing 6 feet above the waterline, cut the surface in slow, patient arcs. Beneath the surface, she could see their white eye patches rolling, enormous bodies scanning the dark water. The hull felt very thin. Around them, the sound was silent, except for water against fiberglass, and the distant groan of a glacier in the mountains. Nobody spoke. They sat completely still on a powerless boat and waited for 8 6-ton predators to make a decision. After 15 minutes, the pod broke formation. One by one, the dorsal fins turned and disappeared into the black water. The seal wasn't worth the effort. The hunt was over. The seal didn't move for a long time. Long after the last fin disappeared, it stayed pressed against the hull, eyes still fixed on the water. Nora stayed still with it. She understood not trusting the silence. She understood needing more time before believing the danger had passed. Slowly, the trembling subsided. The seal began moving, carefully, deliberately, testing each inch of the boat before committing to it. It worked its way further aboard, putting more distance between itself and the water. Eventually, it settled. Its breathing slowed. The terror softened into something that was almost impossibly calm. Nora looked at it for a long time. She thought about the dock that morning, her unsteady hands on the ropes, the way she had looked at the black water and felt the old familiar grip of fear, and stepped onto the boat anyway because she had decided enough was enough. The seal had done exactly the same thing. It had looked at a boat full of strangers in the middle of an Alaskan wilderness and chose to trust them anyway because the alternative was worse than the fear. They had both made the same choice that morning. She started the engine slowly. They motored toward the nearest shoreline without speaking. When the water turned pale green beneath them, the seal lifted its head, scanned in every direction with the patience of an animal that had learned the hard cost of letting its guard down. Then it turned toward the edge of the boat, paused for one brief moment, and slipped silently over the side. It didn't rush. It left on its own terms when it was ready, because it had decided it was finally safe enough to go. Nora watched the surface close over it. The mountains of Prince William Sound rose around her on every side, snow-capped and indifferent and magnificent. The water was just as dark and cold as it had been that morning when she had stepped aboard with unsteady hands. She was still afraid of the ocean, but she thought perhaps she understood it a little better now.